What is going on, everybody? I have a fussy child, but that's okay. The show must go on. How's everybody doing tonight? Tonight is Bobbitt's birthday, so happy birthday to Bobbitt, even though it was yesterday. We're going to be talking about Wrestlemania 17. Now, how this is going to work. Bobbitt is going to be doing the moderating because I asked him, this is my birthday present to him, so he's going to run the show in a way. So that being said, Bobbitt, how are you doing tonight? Good, good. How was your birthday? It's only Oscar. How was your birthday? Good. So I'm going to hand it over to you. I kind of talked about how we're going to do this. I'm going to hand it over to you, and you can introduce everybody else. That's fine. Just move it on. Wow, that hurts. How's it going, Trek? You can't hear Bobbitt? You can't hear, but they can't hear you. Just give me a second, Bobbitt.
You did it again?
Yeah, I did it. Okay, go ahead, Bobbitt. I can just introduce everybody real quick. I'm sorry.
All right, just a quick rundown. We got Ronnie, the guy who gets more rear-ended than porn stars on Pornhub, Johnny, and Trexter.
Hey, for the record, I did not ask for it, so I was violated.
keep telling yourself that.
I was violated. Yeah, for those that didn't hear, I was in a wreck again today. Not my fault, but still.
Alrighty, so to get started on the show, the kickoff show for the pay-per-view was the Intercontinental title match between Jericho and Regal. That was a good opener. Had some pretty good moments. But yeah, what do you guys think about it? I'm going to start off with Trexter.
I liked it. I thought it was a really good technical match. They took their time and they gave it a lot of time. So it's more than could be said for some of the matches they give the Intercontinental belt lately nowadays. But I thought they did a good job, especially with those two guys. It was really good.
What do you think, Mr. JP?
Trek, you're an idiot. That match was only like 10 minutes long. What do you mean they got time? The first half of the show, although it was a good show, the first half of the show was rushed. Like a lot of matches were like 5-10 minutes long. So because the final two matches took up like an hour. So, but Chris Jericho, William Regal, one of the better workers in the WWE at the time. Chris Jericho, on the rise at the time. And I think Jericho came in as the Intercontinental champion, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
So he ended up winning. Look, it's Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho, this is like I think he'd have been with the WWE for about a year now, a year and a half, just about a year and a half. Just his work, this because like right after this is when he started getting his big push.
Right.
If he had not already started, they had not already started giving him his big push. So I love the match. Very, very. Again, I will give Trek credit. He did say what everybody else is saying. It's a very technical match, because it's two technical wrestlers. But then again, Chris Jericho can do any style of match you want him to do. So.
Yeah. What about you, Johnny?
First of all, William Regal has like one of the worst in-ring attires known to man.
I mean,
quoting Basement from last night, but
I don't know though, because then you could say the same about Stone Cold Steve Austin.
True.
Well, that was always the big thing with Austin. That was always said, how can you market someone that wears all black? And look how well he got over.
Well, I think for William Regal, it was his character to be plain, if that makes sense. I mean, look at Stone Cold Steve Austin. I mean, he had his vest, which was pretty much his persona.
Right.
So I think that's where William Regal was supposed to be some royalty because he's from Britain, because that's what Vince thought of all the people from Europe back then. I don't know. I guess. I don't know.
Why? We will never know.
But because William Regal came from Blackpool, which is one of the toughest. It's one of those cities where if you look at somebody the wrong way, you're going to get punched in the face.
Liverpool. No, Blackpool.
Yeah, Blackpool.
He's from Blackpool.
Yeah. And he was a what do you call those? I can't remember what they're called, but the bare fist fighters. The same as Wade Barrett was.
Bare knuckle?
A brawler?
Yes, no, bare knuckle brawlers. Yes. So that's what he was. He came from the tough streets of Blackpool. And they never capitalized on that gimmick because Vince McMahon wanted him to be the guy that hung out with Queen Elizabeth or whatever. So
right.
So it never really panned out. I mean, he could play the character, but I would have much rather had him play the tough guy from Blackpool. But they never did that to him. But I'll let you go. But again, we could say that he had boring gimmick attire, but then we could say the same thing about Stone Cold. That's all I want to say.
It was more as a joke anyway. But,
no, I know.
Because William Regal to me is like one of the most underrated wrestlers.
Totally agree.
I actually liked William Regal's gimmick. He was sort of that, he pulled it off very well. And this match, it was a good match. I mean, this was around the time that, they did start pushing Chris Jericho. So, you can't blame that. You can't go wrong with that.
No.
So, but that's all I got.
Also, if you want to see bad, go ahead, Bobbitt.
No, go, Trek.
If you want to see bad attire, look at what he came in wearing when he was the Real Man's Man. I mean, that was atrocious.
Good talk.
Good talk, Trek.
Okay. So, Ronnie, you got anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with everyone with the technical in-ring match, and then of course you had the evil William Regal and the face with Jericho, but just to even see Jericho then to opposed to what he had become down the road, and even like during the match you had the William Regal taking the turnbuckle off, and then the use of the tactics that he did as the heel, and then with Jericho coming out on top. So yeah, pretty much like what everybody said, it was a start off of a match, good technical too, and the start of Jericho's career.
Yep.
All right. Does anybody else have anything else before we move on?
No, I enjoyed the match. It was one of the better matches. I mean, there was really no really bad matches on this card except for one, but we'll get into that when the time comes.
All right, moving on. The next match is the 6-man tag. It was Taz and the APA versus Right to Censor. was an okay match. Wasn't nothing to write home about, but it was all right. JP, what are your thoughts?
My thoughts? I couldn't hear you
Yeah.
with my daughter fucking, I don't know what she's whining about. Again, a very short match. Didn't really get what they could have out of the match because, again, they rushed the first half of the show. The APA and Taz, I mean, they're brawlers. Taz can be that suplex machine. And that's another thing. We talked about that last night because we watched a show together last night. And we are all in agreement that they underutilized Taz. They misused him so horribly. In my opinion, Taz was a world champion caliber type of wrestler. He could have just as well been that Stone Cold Steve Austin character that Stone Cold was.
Right.
If used right. But they didn't use him right. And who was the right to censor? I didn't care for that gimmick. I mean, at the time, the gimmick was there. It made sense. But the thing is, their entrance is fucking annoying. A lot like Dean Ambrose's entrance now is really fucking annoying. So yeah, it was a good match. I enjoyed it. For as short as it was okay. Can't really shit on it.
Ronnie, what are your thoughts?
Pretty much with what JP just off of that. You got the APA, which Bradshaw and Farouk, and then adding Taz to that mix. But it's similar to what they do with WWE now. I mean, they threw these guys together, had the 6-man. Again, a short match.
Yeah, it was. I don't think they just threw. I think there was a storyline behind it, and I don't remember what it was. That's one thing about these pay-per-views. I gotta kind of probably watch the go-home show to figure out. Because back then, when they did their go-home shows, you could watch a go-home show and say, "Okay, I'm ready to watch WrestleMania or whatever pay-per-view is happening," because they would catch you up with the storyline.
Right.
So I didn't do that. I think there was a reason why they had this match, but I can't remember what it was. And I think it had a lot to do with
William Regal and
no, the APA and Taz match. I can't
because the right to censor was going around to all of the wrestlers saying you can't do that.
That's why. So there was a story behind it, and they picked the APA, which was the wrong thing to do at the time. So then they beat the shit out of them.
Right, because they were like the gambling and the drinking.
Yes.
Okay.
But they never got to Stone Cold Steve Austin. I would have liked to have seen that.
Oh, that would have been hilarious.
Trickster, what are your thoughts, buddy?
I thought it was an okay match. I mean, I liked that it was the big brawlers versus the conservatives and stuff. And it kind of right to censor kind of reminds me of what Drew Gulak does, where he says the no flips and stuff that, and 205 Live and stuff. And it felt like they didn't really get it to the hilt. Like JP said, I would have liked to have seen the Austin thing happen, but they were supposed to do a whole nother thing with right to censor, like fighting Vince McMahon too. Vince was like the enemy, kind of like what they were doing, because it was supposed to be about the Parents Television Council and all that crap.
Yeah. Which
we were all fed up with and stuff. But I mean, it was a good match, but it just felt like it was missing something.
Okay. Johnny, guys, I saved the best for last on this one. What do you think?
Anytime that I get to see a PC gimmick get the shit kicked out of it, I like it.
Oh, what gimmick?
A PC gimmick.
What's that?
Like politically correct gimmick.
Oh, yeah.
I get to see them get the shit kicked out of them. I enjoy it.
In wrestling, what Johnny's saying is the politically correct gimmick is usually the heel gimmick.
Right. As annoying as the entrance was, it did need something more, but it was a good gimmick.
It served its purpose. It annoyed the shit out of you. Wanted to see them get their ass beat with that fucking noise.
And you know, up at this time too, they didn't lose a whole bunch.
No, they didn't.
And that's what made it even. I think that's what made it special when somebody did beat them,
Right.
because it was like they were really taking over, and you bought into it.
Yep.
And that's my thing. Anytime that, even going back and watching it yesterday, anytime that you can make me believe in what they're doing and believe in the character itself, that is worth it to me.
Yep.
And that's essentially what this match was. Back for all the shit that that JBL gets, to me, him as Bradshaw in APA, best gimmick version of JBL ever.
I agree. I cannot lie. I agree 100%.
Okay. Anybody else got anything to add before we move on to the next match?
No, not so much. I do want to say it's kind of funny to see Godfather in the Right to Censor.
I know.
Because of his Pippin Ain't Easy gimmick.
Well, even with Val Venus too.
Yeah, Val Venus.
Gyrating.
Right. I mean, it served its purpose. The gimmick did, but it would have probably been a better payoff if after WrestleMania they kept it going for a little bit and had them come into Stone Cold Steve Austin, but then again Stone Cold Steve Austin turned heel, so it didn't make sense. Which we'll get into at the end. I just gave away the ending. Anyway, go ahead.
Alrighty, next match is the triple threat match for the hardcore title. We got Raven versus Kane versus Big Show. I thought this was a fucking hilarious match. A good match, that. A really good match. And let's start off with Ronnie. What are your thoughts?
With this match, I mean, I always enjoyed these types of matches where they went all over the arenas using the props and stuff like that were around. But even with this one, I mean, it had some comedic moments in it with like Raven in the golf cart and the referee carrying the belt, following him around. And just, I mean, the match itself, these were the types of matches that, I mean, the fans could get into because they could use the stuff from under the ring. They could use going into the crowd, and then they were backstage. And it just was not all centered into the ring, and whatever was around and they used, or whatever they had set up, they used to fill in with the match. And like I said, I always enjoyed those types of matches that they had as the gimmicks.
Johnny, what are your thoughts?
I'm like Ronnie. Like the hardcore matches were some of my favorite things to watch in WWE. Not because, but, you know, basically because of the, you know, using the props, and it's a little bit more edgier of a match, but also the comedic side, because there were a lot of those matches that were just straight up damn funny. And you know, Big Show putting Kane through a door that clearly there's no way that they could have done that. To me, that wasn't the funniest part of that match. The funniest part of that match was seeing Kane driving the golf cart and Raven taking a dive right before it hits him.
Well, to me, that's still not even the funniest part, and I'll get to that when
what was your funniest part?
My funniest part was Jimmy Corderas fucking riding around on the golf cart.
Oh, yeah. Riding on the back with Kane. Like, ow.
Fucking Big Show hits fucking Raven, and Raven rolls into the golf cart. Yeah. Fucking Kane don't stop. He just runs his fucking leg right the fuck over. Jimmy Corderas gets off the fucking the golf cart. He's carrying around the fucking title. All over the fucking arena. And they're going through fucking walls, they're going through windows, and for everybody to sit there and, oh my God, Raven went through a window, just to let everybody know that was sugar glass.
Yeah. I mean, they naturally protected their guys, but it's still...
Oh, it could do some damage, not gonna lie.
If it gets in the eye, forget it.
Yeah, they talked about that, Bruce Pritchard did.
Yeah, that's something I want to bring up. golf cart segment if Raven would have been 1 or 2 inches, further ahead. It would have knocked out power to the whole arena.
Right.
I'm trying to make dinner here, girl.
Oh my God.
Trickster, what do you guys say, buddy?
I thought it was really fun match. It just like it was. What can you say? It was a clusterfuck, but it was meant to be that way, and that's how all the hardcore title matches were. They were just fun shit thrown together, and I thought it was funny that Big Show tried to put Kane through the door and ended up that he just had to put his own fist through the door and just act like he helped Kane through the door and stuff. And I thought it was pretty great. Kane driving the golf cart was hilarious too, and then him running over Raven.
Well, another funny part to that match was, and we aren't even talking about the match because it was nothing but comedy to me, was when they went through the wall section, and Big Show put his shoulder down and went right through the. That was fun. I'm not a fan of the hardcore matches, the championship. I wasn't a fan of the hardcore championship, but it was great filler. And it fit the times. The match that they had fit what they were doing.
Right. Well, if anything, I have always said, of all the fucking belts and shit that they have brought back, and all the new stuff that they're trying to do, that's the one belt I wish they would actually bring back, because it could, you could have a Dean Ambrose go for that title. That would fit Dean Ambrose so fucking well.
Right. But the only reason and you know why they won't, though.
Oh, I know.
But I do understand what you mean. Like I said, again, I'm not a fan of the hardcore stuff, so. But that's neither here nor there. I'm really not a fan of the real hardcore shit that I have seen. So. And that kind of ruins hardcore for me. But that's all I have. That's all I have on that. Kane ended up winning the title. He threw him through I don't even know what the fuck it was.
It was part of the stage.
They didn't do a very good job of making it, but whatever. That's all I got, Bobbitt.
Alright, next match. We got the European Championship match between the late Eddie Guerrero and the late Test. Good match, of course. Eddie Guerrero always puts on a good match. Test was really good in the match. That's pretty much it for me. Johnny, what are your thoughts?
To be honest, I was never really that big of a Test guy. He was good, but I don't know. Is it just me, or did it seem like there was always something just missing with Test?
Was because he wasn't up to the test?
No.
No. The match was good. I enjoyed the match. I like Eddie Guerrero. I've always been an Eddie Guerrero fan. But I don't know, with Test, it just always seemed like something was missing with that guy.
Yeah, there was something just a little off with him. I don't know what it is. Now, was he good inside the ring? He was.
He was.
I think after when does the wedding crap happened after that, right?
Yeah.
I think so.
So he was kind of that they used his real life, because him and Stephanie were actually dating, and they used real life. See, this is why I don't like the real like the using. We'll get into it, but the fucking Matt Hardy and Edge thing, I didn't care for that because it got too fucking real, too fucking quick. And I think that's what happened to Test here. And the beginning of him, he didn't need to talk. He's 6'6", 290. He didn't need to say anything. He just needed to beat the fuck out of people.
Right.
He could be a mouthpiece for somebody. Or somebody could be a mouthpiece for him.
He would have been somebody that I would have seen as a Paul Heyman guy.
Yeah, exactly. I can agree with that. I enjoyed the match. Eddie Guerrero, this is the beginning of his lie, cheat, and steal fucking bullshit. I shouldn't say bullshit because it was really entertaining, but his lie, cheat, and steal stuff. So, I mean, Perry Saturn coming out, Rick Steiner fucking miniature mini-me was what Perry Saturn was at this time.
Giant fuzzy hat and a Fu Manchu.
Yeah. I didn't care for... Because it kind of, to me, made Eddie Guerrero look weak. He couldn't cheat on his own. He had to have other people help him cheat. But he didn't need that. And that kind of ruined it for me, to be honest with you.
Well, eventually he did get to the point where he was doing it himself.
Yes. And that's probably where they said, okay, we don't need you to be doing this. Do it on your own. Do the lie, cheat, and steal gimmick. And it worked. Because he was so good at it. That's all I have. I enjoyed the match.
Alrighty. Trexter, what do you got to say?
Yeah, it was a very good match. As Eddie could have a match with a broomstick and just like make it look good and everything like that. And Test was always very good. I think that they kind of felt. I think Bruce Pritchard said sort of like that they looked at Test as kind of the next Kevin Nash, where he can move and stuff like that, and like stuff like that. So yeah, I think that's what they felt like him, but. It just Nash was a little more active. He could get over the crowd a little more with his charisma and stuff. Whereas Test was just lacking something. I couldn't put my finger on it, but
you know what it was? It was charisma. Even though he had it. He had charisma.
Yeah.
He just didn't have the charisma. I think that's what it was. He had a better finisher. I fucking hated the fucking jackknife powerbomb. Because all he did is pick the guy up and drop him. Didn't fucking slam him down or anything. I liked his pump handle slam. He did that so fluently. The guy was a really good worker inside the ring. I wish they would have done something with him. They didn't. They did push. Wasn't he Intercontinental Champion for a while too?
Yeah, something like that.
I mean, they gave him a push, but then after the fucking wedding fucking thing, they stopped the push. They were done with him, which was bullshit in my opinion.
No, I agree.
All right, Ronnie, what do you got to say?
Yeah, these were two guys that I followed along with Dean Malenko, Perry Saturn, Chris Benoit, and I always enjoyed whether they were in the ring together or.
Bowflex.
Yeah, I mean, and it's sad that they're not here with us today due to each of them having different circumstances on their death, but it's just, I mean. Like everyone said, Eddie Guerrero, you could put him in there with a paper bag and he could make it an enjoyable match. And the lie, steal, cheat gimmick, true. I mean, he did pull that off on his own as well. But it was just, I guess, seeing them in WCW, then them coming over and stuff like that, all those guys, it was refreshing to see them here along with the WWE guys. And Test was he was that big guy that always Vince McMahon always liked, the big guys and I don't know if it was just due to the circumstances of being involved with Stephanie that maybe it was Vince that decided not to pull the trigger, but demons and stuff like that might have been the factor with Test that he just never got that over it factor.
Right.
To get him to where he needed to be. And unfortunately, like I said, both of them aren't here today, and it's a shame.
It's agreed. Can't agree anymore.
Yeah. Next match, Kurt Angle versus Chris Benoit. I thought this was a really good fucking match. Like, I wish he would have given him just a little bit more time, but yeah.
How much time did they get? Do you know?
I don't know that. I'm sorry, I don't know that.
Can you see how much time they gave Trek?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll look it up.
No, Bobbitt, you moderate. You moderate.
8 minutes and 30 seconds.
How much?
That one for Benoit and Angle, it was 14:04.
That's plenty of time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I would have liked to have had them move on a little bit more, but that's plenty of time. That's not sniting. I mean, I do agree with Bobbitt in a sense that they did need more time for this match because of who them two were. This
Agreed.
match, you know how we're always talking that the pay-per-view sells the tickets and the undercard sells the no. The main event fills the seats, they sell the tickets, and the undercard sells the show.
Yeah.
This match sold that show because of them two.
Well, it goes back to, with the exception of one match in the other show, and we all know which one it is.
Yeah.
But the ones that were relevant, because they did the one just for nostalgia act, which goes to prove they're always going to have a nostalgia act at WrestleMania. Just bet it's almost like 100% guarantee.
Mm-hmm.
But the main thing I want to take it. All these matches had relevant storylines that you were invested in.
Yep.
Exactly.
Except for one. I mean, it had a relevant. We might be talking about a different one, but it had a relevant story behind it. But the match was shit.
Which one? Okay, well, just to clear it up, which one are you thinking?
China and Ivory. I hate to say it.
I did forget about that one. I was talking about the Battle Royal.
Oh, the gimmick Battle Royal?
Yeah.
But then again, it's the gimmick Battle Royal.
Yeah.
I didn't even watch it.
Right. Well, that's what I meant by, it's a nostalgia act. You know you're going to get it at WrestleMania.
Of course. But, I mean, the best part of that match was watching Bruce Pritchard and Jim Cornette beat the fuck out of each other in the corner.
Right.
But, go ahead.
Go ahead, Bobbitt.
Go ahead, Bob.
Trickster, what do you got to say?
I had fun watching this match. I always have fun watching Kurt Angle and Chris Benoit, and it's sad to see that Chris is gone and stuff. Where I know what happened, and I just think about the good matches he had instead of what happened near the end. But I thought he and Angle did a really good job. I like seeing how beforehand Edge and Christian went into Angle's dressing room, see him obsessing over trying to beat Chris Benoit and then cheating to beat them, and then they're beating the shit out of each other backstage. And I thought I told a really good story, and it was good technical match. It was better than the Intercontinental match, but I thought it was a really good technical match.
The funny thing is about these two is the match at WrestleMania. Usually these WrestleMania is where they blow off feuds. They kept this one going. They kept this one going for, I think it lasted through 2 Survivor Series, I think. They fought like tons of times.
Yeah.
And it's always, it's always sad for me because Chris Benoit was one of my favorite wrestlers.
Mm-hmm.
I love Chris Benoit, and it's so bad to see, like, considering what happened, but this was probably my favorite match of the whole show.
Can agree. It's right up there. I mean, everybody's going to say, well, what about the main event? Story-wise, the main event was good, but the story inside of the ring with these two is what sold me. And that's what I love. That's the kind of wrestling I like. You can tell me all kinds of stories through fucking promos and all this shit. But if you can't sell me inside of the fucking ring, you've lost me as you've lost my retention for that match. That's why I lose retention with what's going on today, and I'm not going to try to go and we're not going to go into it. That's the problem with today. There's not enough retention on what's going on. It's more about what's going on outside of the fucking ring than inside of it.
Right.
And that's what pisses me off about today's shit as compared to what happened back then. But that's all I have. I mean, I love this match. Fucking right down the fucking middle. I can tell you right now that this is the best match of the night.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with JP. For me, this was, anything with Chris Benoit and he could. I mean, against anybody in the ring, his storytelling, his technical mat skills, and this is the kind of stuff that does irk me, that they're not looking at that when they're considering Hall of Fame. They're looking at what happened outside. And for him, to me, everything he accomplished when he won the championship, it's just anything that he did in the ring is always something I enjoyed watching with him. And it's just sad what happened with him, the family. But for me, yeah, this was match of the night for me.
Yeah, and what I mean by outside, I'm talking about promos and shit. I'm not talking about real life. I'm talking about the promos. I don't know if that's what you were thinking.
I was talking about because of, I mean, and we should thank his sister-in-law, because all of Benoit's matches were pulled from the network.
Yep.
So it's just, I mean, nobody would ever see this or have seen this match if it wasn't for that. But it's just that, to me, is what's not his in-ring ability. Right. And what he did in the ring, yep, which should get him into the Hall of Fame. And they're looking at outside what happened to him, his family, and
right. And for all those people, and this is why I say this. This is why WWE will never, ever, ever, ever go back to the Attitude Era where they're going to do chair shots to the head, because this is why they're so conscientious of chair shots and head injuries and stuff like that, because of Chris Benoit, because they don't want the same thing to happen that happened with Chris Benoit, because it is coming out that he might have possibly had CTE. We don't know a lot about CTE, and we can't find anything out about CTE until they pass away.
Right.
Yeah.
Which just sucks. With the technology today, I mean, they're getting closer to finding out what causes it, but it's still going to take a lot of research. So, I mean, you've got to think about that, and we're kind of going off on a tangent, but it's kind of relevant to the situation. This is why people are like, how come they're so boring and choreographed inside the ring? I say it too, but this is why. They're trying to prevent, and sometimes it happens, an injury happens because they're being too careful. Yeah. So when an injury happens, it happens because they're being too careful sometimes. But that's all I wanted to add to that. I'd caveat.
Next match on the card is the women's championship match between
Next match.
Ivory and China. I didn't care about this match. Like, I didn't like this match at all. What are your thoughts, JP?
I already told you. How long did the match last? Like 3 minutes? 4 minutes?
Roughly.
And what?
2 minutes, 39 seconds.
Okay, and it started off where China, if you watch China walk down to the ring, she's sitting there selling, because the story is that she hurt her neck. And they were selling her neck, she hurt her neck in real life in a match, and that's why she wasn't on TV. When she came back, she was fine, but she's selling the neck like, oh my God, my neck hurts and all this stuff. And then she gets into the ring, and the first thing Ivory does is hits her in her neck, or I can't even remember. It was such a shit fucking work match. And Ivory and China wasn't the greatest in-ring competitor, but she was bigger than all of the other women, so she was more like Braun Strowman on the women's side in the Attitude Era. If I could be so blunt, even though they fucking ruined Braun Strowman, but you know where I'm going with this.
Right, yeah, I get it.
No 120-pound woman is gonna be the jacked up bodybuilder type. Yeah. So but China was. You knew she was gonna win. She didn't care if she won the title. I will say this right now. Everybody says China's the first Intercontinental Champion. We talked about it last night. Does everybody know the reason why she became Intercontinental Champion? I said it last night, and Bruce Pritchard said it on his show. He said, just put the fucking title. Vince said, fuck it. Put the title on her so stop fucking nagging me. That is the only reason China became Intercontinental Champion. So, she didn't become Intercontinental Champion because that's what WWE wanted. They just made her Intercontinental Champion because they just wanted them to stop nagging her. Or her to stop nagging them for it. So, that's why, to get that out there. But I didn't care for this fucking match whatsoever. We all knew who was going to win. And the finish to the match was bullshit. She drops her, and that's a finisher.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yep.
Garbage.
And then the nonchalant cover.
Yeah, I didn't care for that. It was she a heel or was she a babyface?
Right, it was like the arrogant cover, like
right.
See what I did. Yep.
That's all I have.
Ronnie, you got anything else to add?
No, pretty much. I mean, like what JP said. I mean, a very short match. I mean, move sets. I mean, it wasn't anything. I mean, if you blinked, you missed it.
Johnny, you got anything else to add, buddy?
Heck, there was even a point where she paused before she covered her.
Yeah, she stood there. She stood there and then just kind of nonchalantly laid down. Yeah.
And so I nonchalantly whacked off.
Oh,
yeah. That's about how much this match really meant to me.
It was shit. It was shit.
Trey?
Yeah, I wasn't interested. I loved China. I thought Ivory was great, but it just kind of, the way she was treating Ivory just kind of made Ivory look like an afterthought. She's supposed to be this big bad heel that had all the guys helping her out, and she went out by herself, just got her ass kicked, and so that she got no offense. It just felt like it was thrown together at the last second. It's like, let's show off how big China is. Well, you could do it any night. It's like, and then her just the nonchalant cover, like you guys said. It just reminded me, sadly, of when it was Warrior versus Randy Savage at 7, I think it was WrestleMania 7. He just like puts his foot on him and wins. It just felt like a waste.
Agreed.
All right. If nobody has anything else to say, we got 5 matches to go. Next one up is the street fight, Shane versus Vince. I thought it was a pretty good match. What do y'all think?
The storytelling was good. It told the story that it needed to tell. Son versus father. And this was right about the time that, this is 2 weeks after, or no, just a couple of days after Shane had bought WCW, and they were having a match. I mean, it was Vince. Vince didn't know how to really fight at all. Didn't know how to wrestle. He just knew how to take a bump. That was it.
Yeah, that was pretty much it.
And this was pretty much the introduction to the Coast to Coast. The best part of this match, though, was Mick Foley. I love me some Mick Foley when he was the referee. The second best part of this match is when Linda McMahon comes up out of her catatonic state and kicks Vince McMahon in the balls. The pop inside of that fucking ring was almost as loud as Stone Cold Steve Austin giving Vince McMahon a Stone Cold Stunner.
Yeah.
So, I mean, again, I'm not a fan of Shane McMahon. I'm not a fan of the McMahons having matches. They own the fucking company. Is that not enough?
Nope. Right.
But I can see why they're involved. It's their company. They can do whatever the fuck they want. But I will say this: the story needed to be told, and it was. And this introduced Trish Stratus into the competitor side of things, because she wasn't really a competitor yet, was she?
Not really.
I think she was more like the valet type.
Yeah, she was. Yeah, she was Vince McMahon's lover or whatever the fuck you want to call it.
Right, because it got the Trish and Stephanie storyline going.
Yep.
And that feud.
Yep.
And of course, being the McMahons, they've always got to be involved in some sort of storyline. So.
Yep. But it was an alright match. It's not. It was where it needed to be on the card. The thing about this WrestleMania is the matches were very well placed. I will say that. Go ahead.
Johnny, you got anything else to add?
Yeah, pretty much what I said too.
Johnny?
No.
Correct.
It told a good story, like you guys said. It all depended on the Vince and Shane had a rivalry going beforehand, and Shane buying out WCW from under his nose lent to it very well. I like that we got to see the guys up in the skybox with Stacy Keibler stuff, which was cool, and I loved the coast to coast was awesome. And then of course Linda standing up and kicking Vince right in his grapefruits was awesome. So yeah, it was a good match.
Wait, say that again.
He said grapefruits.
Say grapefruits again.
Grapefruits.
Don't ever do that again.
Ace,
Yeah.
actually, yes, it did needed to be included into the storyline because WCW just got bought by WWE, and it added to the story. And it started that invasion angle, which the invasion angle was bullshit because they did it wrong, because they didn't know what to fucking do, because they didn't have top stars. But that's another.
Alrighty. Next match. I think this was the best match on the card for me personally. I'm a fan of all these guys. The TLC 2 for the tag team titles. Hardy Boys versus Edge and Christian versus the Dudleys. This match, holy shit! I don't think this again. What are your thoughts, Johnny? Because I know you're as big as a fan as I am.
I don't think it was the best. I still stand by my statement that Chris Benoit and Kurt Angle was the best match of the night. But this was an amazing match. I mean, this match pretty much set these guys, all three of them. I mean, Dudleys were already kind of well established, but as far as WWE goes, this put these three tag teams on the map. This one match. And honestly, this was a TLC match done right.
Every TLC match they did was done right, except for a couple of spots. But
right, but if you're going to have this type of match, that is what the superstars today should be living up to, because that was gold.
I can agree.
What do you think, JP? Because I know you're not a big high spots guy.
Oh, we talked about this last night, and I think people misunderstand me when I don't like high spots. And I think Johnny can explain it better, what I'm trying to say. The high spots I do not like are like the one where Jeff Hardy jumps from a 50-foot ladder onto Bubba Ray, who is laying on a table. Not in the ring, not in a safe spot where he could possibly destroy his body, break every bone in his body. Those are the kind of spots I don't like. The high spots, like the spear that Edge did to Jeff Hardy, that was okay. Because it wasn't that far of a fall to where, I mean, it still could have still broken a rib or two, but they could have caught that right away. Does that make sense to everybody?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I didn't mind the match. It was okay. It was good. Yeah, it's probably the third best match of the night for me.
Ron, what do you think?
For me, I mean, this is what the TLC matches were made of. I mean, you don't see them today like this. I mean, these three, their chemistry, whether it was just the Dudleys and the Hardys or the Edge and Christian and the Hardys, they always brought it every time they were in these types of matches. And even with the spots, there would always be something new or something innovative that they would do to try to outdo their last one. But it's nothing like we see today. But this was for me. I mean, these were the starts of what the TLC matches were made for.
Right. I mean, the TLC matches of today seem forced. They're trying to top what has been done, but it's just forced to me, and I don't care for that shit. In fact, I think the TLC pay-per-view itself needs to go away. We talked about this last night. Where they had it, when these guys did it, perfect timing. Money in the Bank should be at WrestleMania, not its own pay-per-view. But that's neither here nor there.
Before we get to Trey, what are Heather's thoughts?
What are Heather's thoughts? I know Heather loves these. She loves the Hardys, right?
Yes.
What are your thoughts?
It was the first of a kind, really. It's what brought the company into what it is today, really.
You think so?
I think so. It changed the forefront of the company, that's for sure.
Okay. Fair enough. I can see why she's saying
Trick, you got anything else said?
I think pretty much everybody said it. I could just remember the first time I watched the match, I was amazed that they were all able to walk out on their own power. And then, like JP pointed out last night, that Edge protected Jeff Hardy when he speared him off the ladder.
No,
I thought you could tell.
Wait a minute. I got to correct you on that. JP's not the one that pointed that out. That was Gina.
That was Gina. I think he's talking about tonight. But yes, Gina pointed that out. Let's get that correct.
Cool.
That's all right.
I give credit to Gina. She pointed it out then. It's like she showed me in the match where he was able to protect Jeff Hardy, which I thought was really cool. It proved that he was able to, become the locker room leader later on too, because he knew what he was doing.
Yep. And I didn't say that Gina did say that last night. I don't think I took credit for saying that either. I don't think I did. If I did, I apologize. I didn't come up with that. I'm going off of what Gina said because I had to watch it because I was behind those guys a little bit. And when it happened, I was like, oh, shit, Gina's right.
Well, and see, that's the thing with those three or just those two teams. That just shows that the trust that they had in each other to come off with something like that, knowing that the other one was going to protect them as best that they could to avoid any injuries from any type of high spot like that or any type of intense action with a ladder or a table or a chair. And with that, that's what you need when you're in the ring with somebody that's going to be doing those types of you're going to be doing with those types of matches with each other. I mean, you need that trust and that ability to feed off of each other. And with the adrenaline and all going, I know things happen, but right. I mean, just to have that type of camaraderie, even in the dressing room and stuff like that. I mean, those three teams. I mean, that was the epitome right there of what made those TLC matches.
Right. Yep.
Next up is the gimmick battle royal.
I don't even remember who won this match, but the funniest part of the match was, and Bruce Pritchard told this story so great. If you haven't listened, again, I keep saying this, if you have not watched or listened to his podcast, go back and listen to it. You'll get, not only will you be fucking entertained, but you will get some insight into what happened behind the scenes. And even though he can't give a bunch of insight, he can give you bits and pieces. Now, Bruce Pritchard said it best is, the story goes that Jim Cornette was working for WWE at the time. He was part of the creative team, I think. Yeah. And Bruce Pritchard, I don't think he was part of the company, but they called him up and said, "Hey, do you wanna go to WrestleMania or be in WrestleMania?" He's like, "Sure, I'll do WrestleMania." And he's like, "Do you want to be in a match?" It's like, "Okay, I guess if you want me to be." And he goes, "Well, what are we doing?" "We're doing the gimmick battle royal." So he came out as Brother Love, and Jim Cornette said, "Well, all you got to do is we'll go into a corner and we'll just potato the shit out of each other." Now, potatoing the shit out of each other is punching each other. So they stood in the corner. I don't even know for how long it was, but you can watch them two just over in the corner beating the fuck out of each other. for like 10 minutes, and that's all they did. And I don't even remember who knocked Cornette out, or it was who knocked Pritchard out, but he talked about it. Hillbilly Jim. But it was so funny. I mean, just watching them two. I'm not too big on nostalgia. Y'all know that. Sometimes it's okay. But for this, I just didn't want to see it. It served its purpose. It was filler. That's all I could say.
What do you think, John?
Yeah, for me, I mean, it was just good to see like the alumni that they brought back for it. I mean, it was what a 3-minute, 7-second match with everything once it was said and done. And Ryan even put, I mean, the Iron Sheik won it, and then you had Sergeant Slaughter in there. Just the many different alumni and nostalgia acts that came back just to bring them back for a match, pretty much for the filler. But yeah, I mean, it was enjoyable to see those that came back and stuff for it, but it didn't really amount to anything or mean anything.
Right.
We even got the Gooker back.
The Gobbledygooker?
Gobbledygooker.
Yep. Who's next?
Johnny, you want to go next?
The only thing I really liked about this was Bobby the Brain Heenan and
Mean Gene
Okerlund. That was the only thing I really got out of it.
What probably would have made it better is if Gorilla Monsoon could have been there.
Yeah.
Them two, my God, some of the funniest segments ever.
What do you think, Mark?
I had a good time watching it just because there's so many of the guys I grew up watching. But like Johnny said, I think it was Johnny who said that his most memorable moment was Bobby Heenan and Mean Gene calling it. That's where I was too. I liked seeing those guys back, and like you said, JP, the only thing that would have made it better would be if Gorilla Monsoon was there.
Right. Okay.
All right. 2 more matches left. Next up, no holds barred. The Undertaker versus Triple H. One hell of a match, in my opinion. What are your thoughts, Ronnie?
I agree with you, Bobbit. This was my second favorite one, involving Undertaker, Triple H, the two of them in the ring together, the different spots that they had, whether it was inside the ring or outside the ring. I've always enjoyed watching both of them at that time. And for me, I mean, like I said, this was my second favorite of the night with them, and everything that they did, which culminated up to this match, WrestleMania.
What are your thoughts, Brett?
This was my favorite match of the night because they just, went in there, beat the crap out of each other, but it actually worked as a match. I mean, those two had such great chemistry. It's really sad that some fans don't include it in the Undertaker Triple H matches that came later, but I thought it was one of their best matches.
Johnny, what do you think?
This to me was one of the better. I'm like JP. I think this was probably the second best match of the night for me. And I mean, of course, going back and watching it now, it's kind of ruined because we knew Undertaker was going to win anyway. But
Right.
But to be truthful, this was one of the gimmicks that this was during Undertaker's badass gimmick.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, I'm going to be dead honest. That was probably my least favorite gimmick of his.
Mm-hmm.
I much preferred the Ministry of Darkness. That kind of Undertaker was my favorite.
Okay.
I'd say the last for least. I mean, the last for last. What are your thoughts, JP?
Everybody's gonna be like, "What are you smoking?" This was the best Undertaker Triple H match ever.
I can agree with that.
Better than the one in the Hell in a Cell. Why? Because it told a story outside and inside the ring. You already knew the fucking story with them two. They didn't need to tell the story inside the fucking ring. And what is WrestleMania 25, 24?
Right.
26, whichever one it was, I don't care. That match, yeah, you're going to get the same, it just added to it, maybe. But it wasn't as good as the first match. This was their first match together. This was the better match. I'm sorry. Hate me if you want. But this match, to me, was better than Hell in a Cell. Hell in a Cell was probably the second best match that they had because of the story at the end. In fact, that is where the Undertaker should have walked away and ended. He should have ended his career right there. And now we come to find out, and we'll talk about it on Friday, he may be done with the WWE. But yeah, this is the best match that they had. I forgot about this match because I said I would say that this was not as good as Kurt Angle. I would say that this was probably. I said that the Kurt Angle match was the best match of the night.
Yeah.
This was probably the third best match of the night for me.
Well, no, wait a minute, because you said the TLC match was the third best.
See, okay, so I forgot. So the TLC match was the fourth best. This match was the third best for me. I forgot about this match for some reason. I don't know why. I'm stupid. So there you go.
Okay, on to the last match. I think this match was the official end of the Attitude Era, the beginning of the Ruthless Aggression Era. The Rock versus Stone Cold. JP, what are your thoughts?
I don't know if it was the end of the Attitude Era. I think 19 may have been. But I will say this. This match was... This wasn't a great wrestling match. It was more... Again, you weren't going to get a wrestling match out of... Even though you could. It was the gimmick of Stone Cold Steve Austin. Everybody says, well, he only had 5 moves. Well, of course, that's because WWE only wanted him to have 5 moves.
Right.
Stone Cold Steve Austin, when he was in WCW, could wrestle circles around fucking Shawn Michaels. Because he could. He was a very good technical wrestler. This was probably the second best match of the night. I mean, you had Kurt Angle, Chris Benoit here, and then you had that match. The story inside the ring was really good because it was The Rock and Stone Cold.
Right.
And the story that they told was at the end when Vince McMahon came out and everybody's waiting for Stone Cold to beat the shit out of Vince or for Vince to hit him with the chair, but it never happened. Never came. I do know that Stone Cold has stated, and he did state in his feud with Vince McMahon, that he would, if he had to go back and change one thing about the feud with him and Vince McMahon, is the time that he aligned himself with Vince McMahon. He still would have done the Rock thing where he beats the shit out of him with the chair, but when he came face to face with Vince, he would have handed him a beer, toasted him, drank it, stunned him, walked out.
Right.
And it probably would have told a better story.
Johnny, what are your thoughts?
I like the match. I mean, it wasn't like it was a match. The Stone Cold turning heel just didn't work for me. It didn't. I could not cheer the guy.
Right.
He wasn't a heel. He never has been.
I can agree. I mean, before before he started this whole WrestleMania 13 is when he started turning. He was still a pretty damn good heel before then.
Right.
But then when Bret Hart did what he did, did that double turn inside the ring that night, which was fantastic fucking storytelling, by the way, and fantastic match in general. One of the best matches, I think, of WrestleMania ever, in my opinion, because of both the story inside the ring and the storytelling, and the wrestling itself. But yeah, I can say that Stone Cold at the time, I could buy into it just because I was old enough to be like, yeah, I get it. They're trying to do something new. But
Right.
I can. A lot of people were like, I don't understand, but it just didn't fit because of the storyline that they had going for 3 fucking years with these two. It didn't fit. It didn't fit. That's all I got.
What are your thoughts, Ron?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with JP and Johnny too. I mean, you had 2 big names. Everybody knew Rock. Everybody knew Stone Cold. And I mean, like we say, what's going to sell the seats? This was 2 names that would put butts in the seats. You had the storytelling inside the ring. You had the animosity. You had the blood. You had the chairs. You had Vince McMahon coming out. You had the referee standing there watching everything that's taking place and not doing anything about it. Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, it was just a culmination of everything, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And then, of course, the beer drinking at the end, standing over the Rock and stuff like that. And it's what made that the main event.
Yep. I mean, it wasn't no disqualification, so the rest really couldn't do anything.
Yeah, I know they couldn't, but it's just a matter of.
I know.
Blank stare, standing there watching it.
Right.
So. Shark, you got anything else said?
I liked the match. I didn't think it was their best match ever. I liked that it was just frenetic. It was frenetic. I guess you would say it's frenetic. Right? It's just like frenetic. Thank you. It's like it's hard to pronounce. I do remember when the match was coming up, WWE did everything possible to make you think that The Rock was going to turn heel. They put up clips of him with Nation of Domination on the website. They had certain interviews where it sounded like he was a heel. And then we had that sit-down interview where Austin's like, I need to be the champion. I'm like, something's going to fucking happen here. And there's...
I kind of knew it was going to happen. Not going to lie to you, because I'm sitting there watching that when they had that interview with, was it Jim Ross was sitting in between them two?
Yeah.
And he looked at Rock and he said, Rock, I need to be the champion. I'm like, he's fucking turning heel. So I kind of seen it coming, so I was ready for it, and that's why I didn't buy it. I think that's why I didn't buy it, because I seen it coming, and this ain't going to work. Because Stone Cold and Vince McMahon aligning just isn't going to work.
All right.
Arushin Chu, this is what Bobbitt wanted to talk about. This is his birthday present from me to him. He wanted to talk about this pay-per-view. So there you go. Go ahead, Bobbitt.
All right, that's all. In the show, if you want to.
Do what?
We can end the show here if y'all want to.
Well, why don't we give a summary of WrestleMania 17?
All right. For me, WrestleMania 17 will always be one of my favorite WrestleManias. The storytelling, the matches, all of it was amazing. And the only other WrestleMania I think can top this one was 24, but that's my personal opinion.
Yep.
What are your thoughts about this? About 17, JP?
It's top 5. I enjoyed the show. It's the last time I think it's the last time Stone Cold had the title. No, because they did the Chris Jericho thing. This started the Invasion feud, kind of, and then carried on. And then they got this, I enjoyed WrestleMania. What came after was kind of meh. And then it picked up again. After Stone Cold turned on Vince McMahon again.
Right. Like how many times?
Right. But yeah, this top 5, where I'd rank it, I don't know. I'd have to go back and look at all the matches that are all the WrestleManias. I haven't seen all of them yet. So I mean, this top 5 for sure. It's gonna be right in there. So yeah.
What are your final thoughts, Johnny?
This is definitely one of my top 5. Actually, it's the first pay-per-view that I got to watch live. So, I mean, this one's kind of near and dear to my heart.
Yep. I mean, WrestleMania 13 actually is my number 1. That's my favorite. Everybody says, well, what if the Undertaker fucking Sid Vicious match sucked? Okay, take that out of it. I don't care. It's because of the story that they told with fucking... What put it over the top was Stone Cold and fucking Bret Hart for me.
Yeah.
That's why WrestleMania 13 is my favorite WrestleMania of all time. So.
Ronnie, what are your final thoughts?
I mean, I enjoyed that this was a suggestion of yours because, I mean, it got a chance for all of us to go back and see ones that are here today versus ones that are now gone that would have probably still been in the company today. But that's what the purpose of the network is. I mean, to go back and see what wrestling was when we were younger and what we're used to compared to what we're getting today. And the matches, the storytelling, the in-ring chemistry between certain individuals that they're trying to recreate today with certain individuals, and how well it worked back then versus what it is today. And it's not happening. I mean, these guys did a lot of putting stuff together in the ring as well as outside the ring, and then the workings together as cohesive units or in one-on-one action between them just basically brought everything together. And we just don't see that today. And that's what I think a lot of it is, with frustration with people that have seen these guys in their prime versus the ones that are wrestling today, that just it just doesn't match up to these types of matches that they had back then.
Right.
Trexter, what are your final thoughts?
It's definitely my top 10. Like JP, my favorite is number 13 because that was the first one I ever got to watch like the day after it happened. My friend taped it for me. I got to watch it the next day, and I love the Austin Brett match. I like the Chicago Street Fight. The Undertaker Sid match was decent. I thought it was good, but this one was very good too because I liked the Kurt Angle Chris Benoit match and how it continued afterwards when Benoit caught him and put him in the crossface afterwards. I loved the street fight, the hardcore match when they were just beating the shit out of each other and just driving golf carts over each other and stuff. And it's definitely my top 10. It's not my top 5, but it's in my top 10.
Okay. Is that it?
So, JP, you want to end the show here, buddy?
Yeah, I do. I just want to make a quick announcement. Heather will be doing her show here. All she's got to do is set up, right? That's all you got to do, and then how long is that going to take?
About 10 minutes.
Okay, so Heather, we're going to end the show here. Heather's going to do her show. She probably wants to finish eating, too.
That too, yeah.
Wendy's not giving her a break. I'm not going to be here at the beginning of the show because I got to go take care of some business. I'm going to take Wendy with me to give her a break. But other than that, don't forget, pop over to the Tattooed Mistress. That's where that show is going to be. Other than that, I think that's pretty much it. So just give Heather about 10-15 minutes or so-ish. And then Heather will be over there. And I'm pretty sure this will be your panel for that show, too. I will be back. I just have to go take care of some business. Personal business. None yes. It's all none yes. None yes, all business. So that being said, I'm going to end it here. I want to thank everybody for showing up. And Bobbitt, happy birthday. You did a really good job tonight. I will give you tons of credit. I had doubts because you fell asleep again last night.
Yeah,
But
kudos, Bobbitt.
You did pretty good,
Good
man.
job.
Happy birthday.
Thanks.
And we will talk to you guys all tomorrow for This Week in Rock. Got a lot to talk about. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow.
We got fastballs.
Yeah, well, that's right. We do. I'm going to Heather's giving me the look. I will talk to you guys later.